This is real strength and conditioning advice from the best minds in jiu-jitsu. No fluff, no hype, just what actually works. Let's start with number 1.
Gordon, as somebody who on Instagram posts a lot of pictures of you being shredded and huge, what's the value of strength?
So I do
sport?
like a combination of John got us big into like gymnastics type movements, like toes to bar and muscle ups and things like that when we were young. Like toes to bar because that's like the exact motion you have to do when you're retaining guard, is knees to chest. So I do a lot of that stuff in combination with, I do a lot of, opposite of George, I do a lot of bodybuilding workouts where I do like a basic split, like a chest and triceps, back and biceps day. And my idea is that weightlifting should always be a supplement to jiu-jitsu. So you shouldn't be missing a jiu-jitsu session to lift weights. So I train jiu-jitsu every day, and I lift 3 to 4 times a week. I feel like lifting 7 days a week for me is too much, and the lifting takes a lot of energy when you do like hard lifts like that. But my idea is, if you want to get good at jiu-jitsu, do jiu-jitsu, and if you want to be bigger and stronger, lift weights and eat food. And I generally don't go super heavy when I lift, because you start putting crazy weights, then start tearing muscles and stuff. So I usually do moderate weights with a very high rep range, like 4 sets of 20 with a drop set at the end to fatigue the muscles, break the fibers, and grow.
Okay, so 4 sets of 20. That's interesting. So that's more for endurance than raw strength.
Yeah, and also I think closer to competition, I'll pick the intensity up. And while there's no real way to get significant gains in VO2 max, I think that lifting and just getting used to mentally redlining gets me kind of in competition shape. Because a lot of times in jiu-jitsu, the guys I'm training with, they're not on a technical level where they can physically exhaust me to the point where I feel like I'm going to die. But I get most of that like when I'm wrestling, because I'm not as efficient in wrestling, so I get a lot more tired. And lifting, when you do if you do like 4 sets of 20 leg press to squat and you go back and forth, like you're like about to die at the end. And I feel like it gets me in the mental habit of redlining before competition.
But does muscle help you? So like the actual mass of muscle, like this. So
I think being stronger will always help in a combat.
Will always help.
Yeah, to some degree. It's not going to be to a degree where it overrides efficiency, but I think that it can't help being can't hurt being stronger.
Well, there's a bunch of people who believe, depending on the sport, that strength can quickly become have detrimental effects to efficiency. So
yes,
like
I agree with that.
Certain kind of, I mean, if strength is like very purely applied to the exact movements of the sport. So in judo, the explosiveness you need is very difficult to replicate in any kind of way except by doing judo.
Yeah. I mean, for us, you always have to understand there's only so much technique that can overcome a certain amount of strength. Like if we all try to fight a silverback gorilla, it's going to kill us. But that being said, I do think that, like, for example, heavyweights are usually the least technical because they rely on their size and strength to beat smaller people. But I think that if you stay with the discipline of doing everything very precise, and I train with a lot smaller people most of the time, so I get out of the habit of using my strength. I think if you're very precise with the way that you train, I think that the extra size and strength can help you.
What would your advice to be for someone who wants to really get good at grappling, but they don't want their training to, I guess, take away from their progress on the mat, but they do have to get strong?
It's hard to say because there's different like theories on that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say trying as many things as you can, so you're not just fixated in like one particular like rep range or one particular modality. Because if I just try to stick to 5x5, for example, like you're gonna get really good at that, but then you're neglecting like different areas of training or whatever training modality you choose to go into. And ultimately, like if your goal is to get stronger for jiu-jitsu, it's good for you to do strength training, but I don't think it should take so much out of you that it's gonna take away from your actual training in the gym.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think you know, just doing like basic stuff and then building upon that. So like you could do like basic lifts. You can work on, you know, different rep ranges. Maybe you start off with like 5x5, for example. You work on your bench, you work on like an overhead press, you work on those basic movements, and then just adding like maybe some accessory work behind that. And then, you know, that should be enough. And then once you feel like, and you know, especially when you're just starting off, like you'll notice like that the gains that you make in the beginning are always going to be the biggest ones, and then like when you're trying to put on those extra like 2 pounds after you've been lifting for like 5 or 10 years or whatever the case is, that's like really hard. And so I think once you can build up like once you can get past that like first, I guess, year of gains in strength and size and muscle mass or whatever your goals are, which is important too, like it depends upon your goal, like what you're trying to do. Are you trying to gain mass? Are you trying to I think once you do that, if your goal is jiu-jitsu, just maintaining that and just making small incremental adjustments to your training to where you're still challenging yourself in the gym is kind of the best way to go. That's kind of at least where I'm at now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I have like a million questions, but like just about the stuff we're talking about, like some of the things I was wondering was like you spoke a bit about rep ranges, and like I feel like a big question for me and for a lot of people doing jiu-jitsu and like trying to use lifting to supplement their training. A lot of the times we're like, okay, what's the best rep range? How does like size differ from strength, and how do you're talking a bit about that, like if you're gonna hypertrophy training is going to build more size, and the lower rep range is going to build more strength. And
but it also builds plenty of size.
They'll both, yeah, I'm sure. I'm guessing, but I'm like, it sounds like they'll both do both,
Yes.
but there's like a gradient, and
That's exactly correct.
the lower
smarty ass motherfucker.
Okay, I'm learning.
Jew.
I'm learning from you. Big brain. And also, I guess like how endurance fits into all of this. Like maybe, and again, I'm just guessing. Like maybe the higher rep range does more endurance, but then it also just sounds like what you're talking about is like maybe if I were to try to put everything into breaking a foot or doing a movement and then I gas out, maybe I should work on that max effort, like a 1 or 2 rep max, and then see how long it takes me to do another, I don't know, high weight, and then that could also be endurance. Like heavy weights could also help with endurance. So
it's just two kinds of endurance that concern us in jiu-jitsu. One is local endurance, like you are trying to work in the fucking choke and your forearms. You guys ever have forearms so pumped that you're like, I can't move my hands?
Yeah, like there's
especially in gi. I know you fellas aren't big on the gi.
We've done it. Well, I've done it, but these guys know.
It's good for breaking your fingers.
I guess my religion.
It sucks for finger. Yeah, it's gay.
Not as gay because like the dudes.
It's like sex with a condom.
Yeah.
Not
Like sex with sandpaper.
Sandpaper condom. That's actually a good idea.
It's not bad. Yeah.
Tired of not feeling anything during sex? Yeah. That's right. Now you can have sandpaper on your
Broken
cock.
glass.
The girl loves it. Broken glass.
Even better.
Write
Take
that
it up
down.
a notch.
Stones. Little rocks in the street.
Oh,
Anyway, sprinkles.
Yeah.
No one. All right.
syringes.
That downtown Austin vibe. I love it. Yeah.
Just roll it in this.
Danger turns me on. So a little broken syringe that gets me going.
Just chop it clean off.
Local endurance.
So your
means
arm burns out,
a specific
let's say,
muscle burns out.
Yeah.
And then there's systemic endurance, which is like basically measured on a scale of 0 to Roberto Jimenez, because like I don't know if you noticed, but he just kind of keeps going.
It's crazy.
The re-attack is insane. You're like, bro, I just stuffed your takedown. Why are you doing this to me again? Get tired. So you have to think about jiu-jitsu training from just one real big central question. There's jiu-jitsu training itself does most of the training that you need. So if you're just in there training jiu-jitsu, like you're good. You're not great, but you're good. Then you have to ask the question of what are the factors not getting addressed with sufficient intensity in jiu-jitsu that isn't pushing those abilities up. And so strength is one of them. You just don't get enough full range of motion reps on real humans in jiu-jitsu to improve your strength a ton. So you go to the gym to get that done. It doesn't take much. 2, 3, 4 sessions a week, 45 minutes each is all it's going to take to get all the fucking strength you need. Because you have a lot of it already. You just need to top it off a little bit.
I just like, so you need to like push yourself to near failure to make your body adapt, because that
Correct.
won't happen. Like if I'm in a weight class, the same guy, and I break his closed guard, sure, it'll be a little hard, but it's not going to be enough
If it's
for me
one
to get
rep,
a stronger back.
100%.
Like that's not.
Now, it will versus an untrained person. But
Yeah.
there's a strength level you get to just training jiu-jitsu, and then a strength level you get to with jiu-jitsu plus weights, and you want to be that dude. Like if you had a magic pill that made you 10 times stronger, would you take it? Of course you'd fucking take it.
Steroids, yeah, it's called
10
steroids.
times. I don't know about who the fuck is your dealer, bro? My man. Give me that shit.
Trying to get hooked up.
That'd be so sweet. 10 times stronger would legit be like, you would just do this. The guy would grab your wrist. You would take his wrist and snap it. He'd be like, holy fuck. That's it. Yeah, no technique required.
Yeah, the whole kind of thing about not using your strength and using your technique, I think technique is always what comes first. Depending on what sport that you do, you know, the technique is always going to come first. The skills and the skill acquisition is always going to be number one, but the stronger you are and the better athlete that you are, the easier those techniques become to apply. You see a lot of people that are really athletic try and rely on their athleticism rather than use it to complement their technique, you know. So that's where I think people kind of miss the ball a little bit, or you know, kind of give that saying kind of what it's become today, is where you have athletic people who are, you know, built really well, really strong, really fast and explosive, and that's what they tend to look at when they're looking to escape positions or they're looking to attack in positions, rather than using a technical approach to it. You know, with technique that's backed by strength, it becomes much more effective, I believe.
How do you balance those, not only as a professional, but as, let's say you're, you know, a practitioner who's just going in a couple times a week? Like, we see a lot of people come from CrossFit backgrounds, people that come from collegiate sport backgrounds, and that explosive, power-driven movement can be, you know, super valuable. But at the same time, the longer that you do jiu-jitsu, those movements make you predictable if it's an unequal skill set. So someone who's about to explode tends to build tension and anticipation, and then you can utilize that to read what they're going to do and turn it against them. But how do you teach, you know, your students, athletes, people that you work with, on understanding that balance of utilizing athleticism that's pre-existing, but not letting it take away from the skill building side of it?
Yeah, so what happens a lot with students, being an instructor myself, it's what I'm going to say, I don't want it to be taken the wrong way, but it's really hard to get people, if you say something, to listen to you. You know, everybody, if they have coaching before, like the athletic and the strong people usually played sports before, and usually a lot of people think they have it figured out, or they just have these habits or things kind of like burned in, instilled in them, that they don't kind of really stray away from those things, you know. And jiu-jitsu can be a very different approach. It can be a very different methodology compared to other sports, typical sports that I see in the Midwest, you know, like wrestling. The mindset behind wrestling and jiu-jitsu is far different, even though the sports are similar. The mindset behind hockey, football, baseball is all very, very different as far as how they approach training, how they approach the game. So I think the most effective thing is to put them in specific rounds and kind of bad positions where they start to see and they start to realize, understand firsthand, it's kind of a trial by fire, but they see that their athleticism and their strength is nullified, and it's not effective. And when they realize that they're getting exhausted, and they realize that they're not having the success that they once thought they could, they can either be stubborn and choose to kind of go along a path of like a really frustrating jiu-jitsu journey, or they can make the change, you know what I mean? And I always encourage that change to be made, but if I just say it, I don't think it has the same effect on people. I think they need to start in a bad position or start in different positions where they're unable to use their strength and their athleticism successfully.
No, I'm actually I'm playing that style here because I'm kind of forced to play like my best, but I've stopped stretching actually just because I want to, as a coach, I don't want to have my attributes, like when I'm teaching someone, I don't want to be like, I can do it, but they won't be able to, sort of thing.
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm trying to.
And you're a big man on recovery, ice baths, sauna. Am I right?
No.
Why do you do any recovery stuff like that?
I feel like that's like when you do something like that, you know, like you look at like the football teams and so on, and the research they do on those, it's like if it helps, it's like very minuscule, like 1 to 2% probably in terms of recovery, and you could just roll. Yeah, if you rolled that less 1 or 2 minutes in your whole training day, it's probably got the same effect of
that recovery.
Like just do a little bit less training. You know, I think like obviously, I suppose it makes sense if you want to have your training volume so high that, and you know, everything's like very strict like that. You want to do everything you can outside of that, but you know, if you just try to, especially at the moment, like just enjoying your training. Like I don't enjoy ice baths. So
no, and I don't get it. Some people will get up early to do a sauna and an ice bath, and I'm like, sleeping longer.
Yeah.
What do you love?
Look, I mean, we've evolved. Like we're pretty good at recovery. Like our body can recover quite well itself. It's going to do most of the work. You know, so the idea that, just the general idea that you can do something external that's going to be better than what your body naturally
Are
does.
you talking about steroids?
No. Yeah, but I mean, I'm usually skeptical of most things, but like I think there's some things like ice baths. I think there's some evidence, but even why do they work is another question, because like I went to a lecture on it, and I think they put like a little pin in, like actually you have to like pierce the muscle to measure the temperature change. So if you're trying to cool down a muscle, I think someone was in an ice bath for 13 minutes to cool the muscle down 1 degree.
Oh wow.
So like, if it is having an effect, what's the physiological reason? Because it might not be actually the cooling of the muscle. Maybe there's some other reason. It probably has a pretty good placebo effect of being to put yourself through something horrendous so you want it to work.
How many people ask you questions like that, but all they've listened to is podcasts or watched YouTube videos on the topic?
Yeah, but I just let, you know, if they want to do it, there's not really any harm. So if someone wants to do it, like, I mean, it probably helps a bit, so go for it.
Yeah.
That's my diplomatic answer.
And you don't do any weightlifting?
No.
Why not? Because Marcelo didn't?
Yeah, that was the main reason. Why don't I do weights? Pretty sure. I mean, I think there's there's a decent, more of an argument for weights than ice baths. I think, like, as in like strength training's shown to be good for like injury prevention and actual performance as well. So I probably should, but I don't enjoy it. For the most part, like usually for me when I'm training, it's kind of like, what do I want to spend my time doing? You know, if I spend my time doing weights, that's time I'm not going to train. Like, as in, like, I'll actually have to have a session off, and I've always got technical things I'm trying to fix. So it's just like, you know, usually when I lose a match, like I lost to Kate, for example, he armbarred me. That just as an example, you know, that's just what came to my head just then. But like, strength training wouldn't have helped me do that, but technical adjustment would have, you know, so if I spend my time fixing my, you know, elbow to knee connection, or just like even just becoming aware of the possibility of the armbar risk. So Nicky went to do that on me today, and I flipped it somehow. Although I didn't even see that one coming, so I still need to work it. But yeah, for me, like, just spending my time training is more enjoyable, and I always feel like there's a technical adjustment that I could do to improve. Yeah. But I think actually that's probably, especially for like wrestling based things, I think the strength training probably helps more, and that's probably an area I should have worked on, but here we are.
I take the different approach, because I lost to Kainan and thought I just need to be stronger than him.
Right. Do you reckon? There'd be some technical things you could...
Yeah, obviously there's technical things, but I think 88 would be better to go back down 88.
Yeah. My thoughts are with that is the Z guard's hard against someone bigger who can, like...
He just holds the foot.
Yeah. They can slowly, like, sprawl.
Something I've never fixed is that if nothing's happening, I'll eventually make a terrible decision. If it's a waiting game, I'll lose that battle.
Please understand, guys, whenever I coach gripping, the first question I get from everyone is, how can I make my grip stronger? And what they mean by that is, you know, how can I make my forearm stronger, my wrist stronger? And I think I'm going to give them some crazy exercise, like, you know, squeezing tennis balls and all this kind of madness. please understand that the effective strength of your grip has much more to do with skill in gripping than it does with physical strength. The only exercise that I advocate for developing physical strength in your grip is rope climbing. That's the only exercise I've seen over the years which does have tangible benefits for grappling. Everyone I know who invested considerable time in rope climbing had a good, firm grip. Once you go beyond that, I don't really see any great benefit to going further than, if you can climb rope up and down 4 or 5 times without the use of your legs, your grip is plenty strong enough. You don't need anything more than that. After that, you get diminishing returns on continued investment into grip strength. Just focus on rope climbing. Get confident that you should be able to pull yourself up a rope without the use of your legs. If you can do this, that's more than enough. After that, as I said, diminishing returns. Spending vast amounts of time on crazy esoteric machines to develop your grip strength is not going to help you that much. It's much more about skill.
That grip. What a man.
What a man. What a man.
How's your lifting going, Jozef?
Pretty good.
Yeah. You've been lifting for a while? How long have you been lifting for?
6 months.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty good. I'm enjoying it. I feel less injured.
It's only been 6 months?
Since, it was like right at the start of it was a bit before the B team camp, before CJI. How long ago was that now?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like
right?
6 months.
It was
Probably
a bit,
8 months, yeah.
Maybe something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Because before, I mean, I was getting a bit injured, so I was starting to lift, and then, yeah, it's been
That's the
quite
goal.
helpful.
Get less injured, right?
For sure.
Young Wesley, you still lifting? That's a no. That's a hard no.
Hard no.
That's a hard no.
It's a hard no. Definitely not right now.
Why? You got an upper body.
If you're not training, you should do upper body.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh,
Just
here we
fucking...
go.
Upper body is easy.
What
though.
the fuck? I
What do you
love
spend
a
your
little
days
bit of
doing?
chest.
KYS, man.
What do I
What's
spend
going
my days doing? Yeah.
Watching flight reviews.
Flight review.
You know, the people who say the best way to be conditioned for jiu-jitsu is to do jiu-jitsu. Would you agree with that?
It is. The best way, nothing compares to doing jiu-jitsu. I think, I mean, as an athlete and a hobbyist is completely different. So let's say, you know, most people that train jiu-jitsu are just hobby. They do for the love of the sport. So I think when you're young, your body's strong. You can be in awkward position. You know, your body can be twisted, and then you'll be fine. You know, like, today I had a little bit of pain in my back. Next day, you're brand new. As you get older, it's different. You know, suddenly you got a little pain on your back that will stay there for days. You know.
Definitely.
So I think some kind of weight training. To be honest, like any basic weight training is fine. If you can squat, do pull-ups and push-ups, that's fine. That's enough. If you do that twice a week, like 70% max of your, of your power, 70%. It doesn't have to be more than that. So that means you're making your body stronger. You know, your lower back, the muscles of your back gets a little bit tighter. The muscles on your shoulder get a bit tighter. Your joints, everything gets stronger. So when you're going to train, your body, you're not going to get injured as easy because your muscles will hold, your belly muscles, even small a bit. But now your muscles are stronger. If you don't do weights, and then because jiu-jitsu is unequal on the body, like it's, you use more your left arm than your left most of the times. You use more of your left leg than right leg. So you're building the muscles differently on your body. So when you do weights, you align all the muscles together because, if you do squats, is your whole body working both sides exactly the same, carrying the same load, doing the same exercise. So you kind of equalize your muscles when you do weights. That's why I think it's very important. Especially as you get older, especially. It will help you on your longevity, as you get older. The older you get, it's extremely important to do a little bit of weights, even once a week. If you get squats, put 20 kilos each side, 10 times, 4 reps of 10 times. That's enough. Once a week, it's good. Twice a week, amazing. That's it. You need nothing more. So it's not, you don't have to be a bodybuilder, like do crazy weight training, but you do need a little bit. It will help you a lot. Like if I'm doing basic weights, I fell on my shoulders a couple of times during my life. That I have a weakness in my shoulder. I never needed surgery, but it bothers me a little bit. It gives me a bit of pain. Sometimes puts my neck a little bit. Sometimes my lower back, because I'm tall and my core is not super strong. Sometimes I put myself in some situations that afterwards, my lower back hurts a little bit. So if I'm doing weights, changes everything.
In the past, you've mentioned before that you didn't do a lot of strength and conditioning. You mostly just rolled for your strength and conditioning, which I think is even harder to do when these guys are on steroids and they're just, jacked and super strong. And if you're not doing, any lifting, but you're still beating them, I think that says a lot about your technique. But is that the same? Is that true now too? Like, do you do any lifting or any strength and conditioning?
Jordan, I don't think nobody was on my skin to feel like exactly what I did, but people has no idea. Like I was not even in a supplement diet. You know what I mean? I always felt like if I have energy, I prefer to do jiu-jitsu than do something else. And that gives me the most understanding that jiu-jitsu I could ever have. Because every time I was thinking I was doing jiu-jitsu. And I was mostly going live against somebody with higher or low experience than me during my career. So that definitely can give the advantage, but it's hard to people trust on that, and I'm not sure if that will work for everybody, right? I cannot force everybody like, oh, just do jiu-jitsu. When I say force, I mean like I tell them like, all right, I don't want you to do condition training. I want people to do whatever they think is helping them. Jiu-jitsu was helping me, and every time I was doing strength condition, I was not feeling the benefit. I have so many conditional training that try to convince me to work out. And I have tried, but I never felt much benefit like I have when I was just doing jiu-jitsu. So that's why I would just stick to my mind that I felt that was working. Got to one point that I was going like a back and forth, like, oh, you should do this. No, you should do that. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm not doing that. Okay, everybody's doing, because on my generation, people was already like doing a really hard strength condition, like a lot of cross train. So I was always going back and forth, but then got to one point that I already won my first ADCC. I won my first IBJJF. I won again, and I realized like I don't think it's because any condition, because I'm not doing that. Oh, okay, I'm 6 months off. Okay, I did only 2 months, and then I realized, okay, let me just stick to my guts and do what makes me happy. And that's why I was like be able to enjoy training to go compete. But obviously you have to find your way to avoid injury. And maybe if I have done a little bit of strength condition, maybe I wouldn't have like the injuries, the pain that I have today, maybe, but I cannot go back to figure that out.
Yeah, it's very true. I see what you mean, because I feel the same way a lot of times, where like I only have so much energy, and I can use it on lifting or I can use it on jiu-jitsu, and more often than not I use it on jiu-jitsu because that's a lot more fun. So yeah, I see what you mean there.
The first exercise that I really like to do when I'm lifting weights for jiu-jitsu is the front squat. So coach is going to grab the bar, you got a nice posture, put the bar over the shoulders, the legs align with the shoulder, like the feet align with the shoulder, and then you start squatting back and forth. So coach has amazing form right here, squatting all the way down and all the way up. And what I like from this exercise is that you work with your quads, your lower back, your posture, your core, right? So, and this is like something that I use in order like to finish a takedown, or to have a good posture inside a closed guard, or even have a good posture like while I'm passing the guard. Okay, not only that, but the legs are important to play guard as well. So definitely like squats are my favorite exercise, and this is one of the exercises that I do, at least like once or twice a week.
And something to keep in mind is that a lot of people have reservations for the front squat because it's hard for them to get into position. There's a bunch of ways that we can also do this. We can go to the butterfly method, which crosses the hands out in front. And I think you said this is the one you prefer, right?
Yeah, I like that better. Yeah.
Same thing, we're still supporting it with the shoulders. We're just holding the arms slightly differently. Some people, if they can't get either of these two variations, you can use lifting straps or even a rag if you don't have lifting straps. And you simply attach them to the bar just like this. And from here, like if you have serious limitations, let's say you're coming back from a shoulder injury, you know, you had a training partner that Kimura'd you and just went too far with it. What we can do is we can hold on here, and this gives us more leeway where our arms don't have to be in such a compromised position to still do the same exact motion. And because the bar is still in front of us, it still has that same demand on posture. Like Professor mentioned earlier, you really have to stabilize with the low and mid back while the legs do the majority of the work.
Yeah, and always when you're pushing up, you got to use their heels, right? Like heels on the floor and then push really hard.
Yep, we want to make sure that we're driving through the whole foot, and sometimes, especially with an upright squat like this, people will let the knees drift too far forward so that the heels lift up. We want to make sure that we're focusing on driving through the heels, really the whole foot, but particularly the heels, so that we can produce as much force as possible in a nice, safe context.
And I never thought about using this.
Yeah, no, it can help.
Because always when I try to do the regular grips, like look, I don't have too much flexibility on my wrist.
It's because the biceps are too big.
Yeah, so I prefer to go like this, you know, and I put the bar like right on top of my shoulder here, and then I go like, just like you did.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect exercise, amazing, great for you.
So the first exercise I want to go over is something a little less conventional than some of the exercises that we're going to get into today. This isn't something that's necessarily really effective at building huge muscles, but it has a lot of transfer to jiu-jitsu, and that's for a couple reasons. Before I start to get to it, let's have Andre go ahead and body lock the sandbag. And here we're using a 90-pound sandbag. And he's not just going to hold it, but generally we're going to have our athletes walk around with it. They can walk up and down turf. Here we're just going to use this mat space. And this does a really good job of accomplishing a few things. First off, his upper body is maintaining an isometric contraction to keep that body lock position. There's also a huge demand on his posture. You might not see it. He's making it look pretty easy, but the bag is pulling his body forward, and he has to use all those postural muscles to maintain that position. And the last thing that might not be apparent to a viewer, but I'm sure Andre is starting to feel it, is the fact that pulling that 90-pound bag into your chest makes it really hard to breathe, which also has a high degree of transfer to jiu-jitsu. And if we wanted to get more advanced with it, we could start to do things like sandbag squats with it, right? And you can mix these in with some of these carries. It's a really good way of doing specific conditioning that can help give a little bit extra oomph for those later rounds on the mat.
Yeah, definitely I feel my breath here.
It's tough, right?
Yeah, it's really tough.
Yeah, and if we do this for a few minutes at a time, then you have a short rest period and go again. It can have a very similar demand to hard rounds, you know, in people pressure passing, body lock passing in jiu-jitsu.
All right, my second exercise is the negative pull-ups, or the pull-up negative, right? And this exercise really helps my grip. So coach will grab the bar, and then he's gonna step up, and then he's gonna work only on the way down, super slow, with a really strong core, slowly. Like he step up, fix this coach, there you go, and he goes down like slowly. So every time that I do this exercise, I feel that my grips get really, really strong. So you go up, and then you go down super slow. So I started doing this exercise like a couple years ago with Coach Alex, and definitely like we worked together for a couple years, and helped me to win Worlds 2017. And I remember when I was fighting, controlling my opponents, I felt my grip was super strong because during the whole camp that year, not only ADCC 2017, but also ADCC 2017, but also Worlds, right? I fought Worlds first, and then ADCC. We kept the whole year like doing this exercise. And I remember we used to do like sets of 6 to 8, right? So going up and going down. So the grip, I saw the coach like grab like this, right? I remember that I used to do like grabbing like that as well.
Yep.
Right? So,
and I don't think there's necessarily one right way to grip it. Just like in jiu-jitsu, sometimes you're making a grip where your fingers are down. Other times you'll do it with the palm more supinated. So both have validity. Generally, whatever one you can do and train with a high degree of effort that doesn't bother any of your joints.
Yeah, and you can add a lot of weight because you step up on the way up, right? So you use your legs, and then you just work on the way down.
Exactly. So your muscles are stronger in that negative or concentric phase by about 20 or 30%. So you can do 20 or 30% more weight on the way down, then you can pull yourself back up. And that's also part of the reason why it taxes the forearms and the grip so well, because we're using such significant weight, and we're doing it for a longer duration. Trying to go down over 4 or 5 seconds and repeat that, it's really good for endurance as well as the strength of those muscles.
Amazing.
So the next exercise that I want to go over is a deficit reverse lunge. So we have some bumper plates set up to use as a deficit. Andre's going to go ahead and step up to the top, and he's going to perform his reverse lunge off of that deficit. And as he steps back, there's a couple things we want to keep in mind. First off, if we're creating a deficit, we want to make sure that the knee goes lower than that to really take advantage of this. So there's really no point in putting it there at all. Another thing we want to do is make sure we're keeping our focus or our weight distribution on that lead leg. And you can tell that Professor's doing that by the fact that his dumbbells aren't moving too far back. They're staying close to that lead leg. If you see those dumbbells traveling further back, he's probably got too much weight on that back leg. Now, something I want to point out, go ahead and pause at the bottom. If you look at the joint angles of his hip and his knee here, it's a very specific position that you'll see a lot in jiu-jitsu, ranging from taking shots to playing guard. It's a slightly different orientation of the body, but having strength from that very bunched up position or the deep knee and hip flexion that occurs here is really crucial if you want to have an active, dangerous guard. And not only that, usually later in the sets, you'll start, huffing and puffing a bit. It's difficult in terms of cardio as well. So I think it's an all-around great exercise and a super efficient use of your time if you're short on time.
Yeah, another thing that I like with the dumbbells, it works in your grips. I definitely we use that a lot.
For sure, for sure. And again, it's in that endurance context. It's not about gripping really, really hard for 10 seconds. You have to maintain it for that entire set.
Another exercise that I really like, this is my third one, is the power clean pulls. Okay, so it's really effective, really good. You work with your legs. So as you can see, like Coach, you have a good posture. Just pull and let the weight go down. So I love this. So he goes, pull, you work with his lower back. So the thing that I like from this exercise is that you work with your legs, you work with your core, your lower back, your back muscle, and your pull. So as you can see, like my favorite exercise always, it requires like grips. So I like this because you still work with your grips. And just like I talked with Coach before, like it's very common that people, they try to do the Olympic lifting, and they don't know how to do it. Sometimes their posture is really messed. Like they try to lift the weight right here, or they try to go overhead. And sometimes they can like hurt their back because they don't have much technique.
Or in college, I dislocated my wrist before I knew what I was doing a power clean. Where I went to bail the bar and my wrist or my elbow got stuck against my leg and the bar came down in my hand. And when you're training for another event, sometimes it doesn't make sense to put all the hours it takes to learn that motion, especially if we get most of the benefit from that pull. We don't even have to worry about the catch. So it tends to work really well for athletes. And you'll see the same thing in the NFL, in the NBA. Sometimes they don't bother teaching the entire clean because you can get a lot of the benefit here. So it tends to be a safer option for athletes.
Yeah, so I did like some Olympic lifting like back in 2003. I started in 2003. I was one of the first athletes in jiu-jitsu to do like power lifting like that. And I remember that my former coach used to tell me about the posture, and sometimes like, people, they don't know how to posture doing this exercise, where they try to pull with their shoulder behind their knee. So you gotta be slightly like a little bit in front of your knee. You gotta have a nice squat, and you wanna pull with your legs, right? You don't wanna pull with your body. And I see like sometimes people, they do this and then they try to do like that, right?
A good cue is imagining that your arms are just ropes with hooks on the end, right? The hooks are your grips, maintaining that, but we just want we don't want the power to come from the arms, right? Another phrase people use is when the elbow bends, power ends. Right, so we want to keep that arm straight, so we force the lower body to do most of the explosion, then we just finish with a nice shrug.
And I like this shrug. It definitely works really well.
We can tell that you like this shrug.
I like that. So I think like the shrug we use to defend, but also the shrug we use to attack. So every time you're squeezing someone, you got to shrug. So for example, if I got a nice rear naked choke, I got to shrug, If I got a nice armbar, I got to shrug. Everything that I'm doing to attack my opponent and squeeze my opponent, it requires a little bit of the shrug and the grips.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
So an exercise that I really like to break down for jiu-jitsu fighters is the bench press. It could be super simple, but there's a couple things that I always want to keep in mind. First off, I like to really have a good shoulder position or a stacked joint for the bench press. And what I mean by that is I like to focus on having the lifter press their shoulders into the bench. They're drawing their shoulder blades back. Think of it like a gi check at an IBJJF event. When you're walking up to get your gi checked, you have to straighten your arms out in front of you. But oftentimes, especially if you're built like myself, if you push your arms forward, those sleeves are going to slide forward. You're going to fail that gi check. And very much, in a very similar vein, we want to keep that shoulder posture to keep our shoulders healthy while we're pressing. So even though we straighten the arms, we keep our shoulders drawn back, and Andre is going to make sure to keep his shoulders pressed against the bench as he does so. Another thing I like to focus on is where we're setting the bar. And I want to think about this like a wrist lock, right? If I took Andre's hand and I tried to wrist lock him by pushing here, how hard would I have to push to break your wrist? Like really hard, like the weight of a car. But all of a sudden, if I move my hand back and I start pressing at a point more back here, it becomes much, much easier to cause damage to the wrist. So we want to keep that in mind. We want to dig that bar low into the hand so that it sits over top of the bones of the forearm. So Andre already went ahead and did that. He's going to keep his shoulders back as he benches. Yep, pull down to the lower chest and up. And something else that he did unconsciously without even realizing, to make sure he doesn't hit the hooks, he got set up in a position where his eyes were directly under the bar. Another thing that we want to really keep in mind. So Professor, what positions do you find pressing to be really, really useful in jiu-jitsu?
I think like there's a way that we press towards the leg, right? Also up the head, like over the head, right? But the press like here, I feel like that you can work like both ways. You get stronger like both ways.
For sure.
But definitely like when somebody's on the side control, I need to press, when sometimes I need to explode to find a space to get my underhook, so you always need to press.
Yeah.
Do you lift weights?
I mean, sometimes, yeah.
Every now and then.
Yeah, honestly, I'm the worst example of athlete ever. I don't stretch, don't do any recovery, I don't sleep
You
properly.
don't stretch at all?
No, I just go easy the first round. I feel like them pushing on my legs. There's some like hip mobility. I think if you get a bad injury, that's a sign maybe it's time to hang it up,
Like
I do a little bit of lifting, but man, I don't even track anything. I'll just be like, oh, that seems like enough lifting for today.
Really?
What I love about jiu-jitsu is laying traps, tricking people, making people feel silly. That's the part I like.
Right.
Rather than just, I want to look jacked just for me, not for the match.
If strength and conditioning is important or not for jiu-jitsu, for the jiu-jitsu practitioner. So guys, this is one question that I think it's very broad, and I'm gonna try to explain here a little more. So it depends. I have seen a lot of people in jiu-jitsu that they don't need strength and conditioning. I think one great, they never needed in their career. And I think one great example about that is Marcelo Garcia. When he was winning every single tournament in his life, he wouldn't do strength and conditioning. He would just do jiu-jitsu morning and night, and that's it. So in my case, strength and conditioning was a big help in my career. And I think like one of the most important things for you would be to try all type of strength and conditions and see which one works the best for you. So that's kind of what I did in my life, in my career, for example, my jiu-jitsu career. So I did kettlebell workouts. I did just like lifting weights. I did Olympic weightlifting. I did all type of strength and conditioning programs that you can imagine. And then little by little, I started to find the one that worked the best for me. So I remember there was a time, for example, that kettlebell was the one that worked the best. But then I met my physical conditioning coach, Kevin Peretti, KP, which I had the pleasure to work with. And I started doing functional training. And he would periodize the training for my goals. So that was the best strength and conditioning program that I found in my career, was to have someone around me who is very, very knowledgeable, which was KP, and working like as a personal trainer on top of me. That made a huge difference between like just working out by myself, then when I start having a professional like person working with me on that. So in your case, for example, I don't know if you do jiu-jitsu just as a hobby or if you do jiu-jitsu professionally, But I do believe that some sort of strength and conditioning is important. One, to give you some extra conditioning, extra strength, and two, to avoid injuries. So I was very lucky when I met KP, Kevin Poretti, because he was both strength and conditioning coach and physiotherapist. So he would work out with me towards my goals and also towards my injuries. So that was very interesting because once I started working with him, I pretty much stopped getting injured. And that made a huge difference because if you get less injury, you can train more jiu-jitsu. And if you can train more jiu-jitsu, you get better in jiu-jitsu. So my tip here, it's like if you are the type of person who hates strength and conditioning, like if going to the gym is the worst part of your day, I would say don't do it. Just do jiu-jitsu maybe once a day or 3 times per week according to your schedule. Or if you're doing professional, do twice a day, 3 times per day. But don't do conditioning, you know, like, and it is what it is. And I think when you do something that you're happy doing, you perform way better. So if you hate strength and conditioning, it is possible to win the jiu-jitsu tournaments without strength and conditioning. I have seen that. I have seen like Mateus Diniz, for example, from Marcelo. He was not the type of guy who would lift too much weight as well. Was pretty much only jiu-jitsu the same way as Marcelo. And so I have seen both cases. The majority of the champions that I met in my career, they used to do strength and conditioning. So I would, if I had to, if I could give an option, I would give you the option to do both. And again, even if you do jiu-jitsu as a hobby, I think like strength and conditioning would help you a lot to prevent injuries and to give you that extra gas, let's say like that, the extra gas to make sure you can perform even better. But that's kind of my opinion. And in my career, as I said, I tested everything. I tested all type of strength and conditionings. Just going to the gym and lifting weight, working out with kettlebell, doing Olympic weightlifting, working out with functional trainer, with a personal trainer, which was KP. That was the best one that worked for me. I think sometimes we underestimate how important it is to have someone pushing your limits. And when you are working out by yourself, even though if you're very disciplined, you can always kind of let it go. And if there is someone pushing you, you reach limits that you don't even believe that you could reach.
What's your opinion on how something like powerlifting affects jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the way you approach this question is super important because some people make the error of taking a powerlifter who is either completely or largely untrained in jiu-jitsu and he sucks. And you're like, see, this dumb asshole gasses all the time and doesn't know moves. But it's different when you have someone who has powerlifting strength, who knows things. And that strength makes that person very, very dangerous. Now, not necessarily powerlifting formally, like squat, bench, deadlift, but if someone is a good powerlifter, I've said this on a few podcasts before, if you show me my next competitor, I don't know dick about him. But I know he does like, no offense, kettlebell shit or balance board shit, some kind of shit. You feel me? I'm like, all right, yeah, maybe he'll tool me up, maybe not. But if I know that guy has deadlifted like 600 pounds from a deficit for 3 reps, the fuck am I going to do to that guy? I better go for some fucking just invert instantly and go for ankle attacks. Because like when you're really strong, you can create 2 separate kinds of problems for opponents. One problem is easy. It's the defensive problem. If someone's on you and you're strong, you can just push them the fuck off you. And they're like, ah, fuck. Like I was asserting my game and he just kind of pushed me away. And the other thing is, of course, if you have an offensive sequence and you're strong, you can just put it onto people. And people will say like, oh, strength doesn't matter in jiu-jitsu. Is that why every Brazilian is on fucking gallons of drugs? Because strength doesn't fucking matter? So what I would say is specifically powerlifting is a good way to go about getting ready for jiu-jitsu in the gym space. But just like compound gnarly movement, overall strength training, if you're really, really strong for sets of like 5 to 10 reps, you're going to be a fucking bigger problem for people. Like, didn't you, I think I saw a match of you going up against that RIP Orlando. What's his name?
Orlando Sanchez.
Right. And I think people were like, Like, oh, see, like, fucking, he's super strong, but fucking Nicky Rod, so still fucked him up. It's like, yeah. But in your perspective, would that have been an easier or more difficult match if he was, like, 10 times weaker?
If he was weak, I mean, I guess it'd be easier if he was bigger. Yeah,
right?
for sure. Yeah.
And so the stronger someone gets, if you hold their jiu-jitsu skill constant and their mobility constant, the bigger of a problem they're going to present to you. If you can keep all of the other variables in your training and your ability the same, but you can get a little bit stronger and a little bit stronger, and a little bit stronger, you're just going to be a bigger and bigger pain in the ass to people. And that's real. That's also, in one big sense, why they have weight classes in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
Because, like, bigger dudes are stronger. If you had some dude who weighed 200 pounds and another dude who weighed 300, but they were like, the 200-pound dude was way stronger than the 300-pound dude, you wouldn't need weight classes. You'd be like, show up, fat motherfucker. I'll tool you up.
For sure.
But, ballast and weight does matter because you can fat people out. Like, no guard works against a 600-pound man, I don't think. But it just helps a lot to be strong, because if we step back philosophically a little bit, jiu-jitsu is literally and only doing things to someone else's body which they don't want you to do to them.
Sounds like
sort of.
It's not.
It's like man in a sense, right? Sport.
I like it better because there's more sweat. It's men only. I don't roll with women. I have nothing to.
Oh, disgusting.
Gross. Weird feminine smells.
It's gay to roll with women. Really, they're soft and.
You know what makes me straight, dude? Is just loving big, hard cock.
That's what I'm talking.
Like, what?
Wow. I agree. Finally speaking the truth. This podcast never heard this before.
It was like the podcast really got good when we got into the talk. That was really sweet.
I was like, what the fuck? Who's in my house?
Under my roof?
Who's in my house?
This is a house of God.
Oh my god.
So,
yeah, you let the Jews in here. That's what we talk about.
You did fuck that up.
Yeah.
Jews.
Take over.
I was going to say, this is what really is getting us canceled. I shouldn't be on podcast. I was going to say Jews are bad people, but are they really people? The horns.
Yes. We're basically Satan's spawn.
Like Maynards.
Really, for real.
Maynards?
You know what Maynard is?
No. Me?
Maynard is like a evil spirit, like a devil spirit. Let me Google this real quick.
All right. To segue on off of that topic. So for a jiu-jitsu athlete or combat sport athlete, say that they're training, they only have time to lift 3 times a week, but they're trying to get as strong as possible, and maybe not even trying to put on that much weight because they have to stay within their weight class. What do you recommend those athletes do?
Steroids.
Oh, yeah.
JK, fellas.
I knew you were going to answer some version.
You look me up and down, you're like, this motherfucker.
Yeah. So what do you think we should do to get stronger?
Asshole sunlight. That's what you need, right?
Oh, yeah.
The
Sphincter
liver
to
king,
the
right?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the start of your day. That's the first thing you'll do in your 20-hour morning routine.
Yes. A 4-hour cold plunge is next.
Yes.
Yep.
But while you're cold plunging, there's got to be kale blending in like 7 different blenders.
Red light injected into your
into
muscles.
the kale. Yeah.
Oh,
into the muscles
both,
with the
both.
kale.
Yeah.
I don't ever eat. You're not
Yeah.
supposed to eat through your mouth anymore. You just inject shit.
And then you shoot yourself directly in the skull. That's the only way.
You'll be able to take it at that point, though, because you've had enough anal sunning.
For sure.
You shoot yourself, nothing happens. You're like, oh my God, they were fucking right. The fucking sun.
It bounces off like fucking iron.
But as a serious answer, so first of all, body weight is only and ever a physical activity and nutritional thing. You can't lift your weights to be more jacked. Like, you can't lift your way into being more jacked. You have to lift and eat your way into being more jacked. How much do you weigh?
Right now, I'm cutting weight. I fight in a week and a half. I'm 148 right now.
Bro, you look at least 149, man. You look
jacked,
dude.
Bro.
Of course.
Thank you, man.
So, like, if you started lifting super fucking ultra psychotically, but you never ate more calories, you would remain at whatever weight. Absolutely.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Bodybuilders do it all the time. Tons of athletes do it all the time. The thing is, once you get to lifting a little bit, your hunger starts getting fucking the best of you, and you start getting the snacks going. I'm not fighting right now. I need 8 spliffs lined up. I'm going to fucking smoke those. Cabinets, cookies, etc. If you're lifting, that's dope. You'll get bigger. So what you need to do is for sure lift 3 times a week in your case, but I would concentrate on compound large muscle mass movements that are also applicable more to jiu-jitsu. Movements that strengthen the arms and the back and the hips. because as much as I would like to believe your pressing muscles are super important in jiu-jitsu, other than defensively, like mostly jiu-jitsu is pulling people in and then manipulating their limbs in various ways. And so the maximum use of your time would be getting like a sick ass deficit deadlift. Do you guys know what that is? The deadlift off of blocks?
I actually don't know.
It's a giant pain in the ass, literally. So you basically like stand on like a 3 or 6 inch platform, depending on how big it's down there.
We're all like 6 feet roughly.
Yeah, roughly, usually, yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
You ain't number 5'6". How tall are you for real?
5'7".
This is a touchy subject for this.
Hey, we're the same height. We're the same height.
I'm like one follicle taller.
I have to be. How tall are you? You can't be. Yeah, maybe 5'7" too.
I'm 5'9", bro. I know I'm fucking with him. I'm not 5'9". I'm 5'6".
Oh,
I'm one of the rare people that is 5'6" and owns it.
Because because you're fucking 5'6" wide as well.
I guess.
Yeah.
It doesn't help with the ladies though. They're like, you just look like you're overcompensating.
Well, you don't
for
like
a small cock.
ladies.
Yeah.
I didn't say that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Don't put words in.
I've been misconstrued. I'm sorry.
I didn't say that on camera.
The ladies simply weren't mentioned. But anyway, so deficit deadlift, like you stand on a 6 inch block, you put a shitload of weight on the ground, and you just reach down and you fucking pick it up for sets of like 5 to 10. It's fucking annoying, but then guard breaks are easy as fuck after that. You do a lot of rowing, bent over rowing, barbell shit, pull-ups. Show me a dude that can put a 25-pounder on his waist and do 10 pull-ups in an adult body weight and full range of motion too, super stretching all the way down. That's a dude that can fucking arm drag the shit out of a lot of people. You know what I mean? Anyone ever try to arm drag you? What the fuck about here? The fuck are you doing? Shuck them off?
Yeah.
When someone can row 225 for reps, do pull-ups, deadlift a lot, like, man, they're just gonna get on you. You guys ever roll, like, you guys are all so fucking good, I can't even relate to the shit, but like, you ever roll with someone who's like annoyingly strong? Where you're like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Stop.
It's rare we come across someone who can challenge our strength. Yes.
Yes. In the olden days, when we were merely knights and not masters.
Yeah. You know what though? My style of grappling, I tend to pull myself to my opponent as opposed to move my opponent around.
Sure.
Like especially if I have a guy that's like bigger than me, I'm gonna like put myself in a better position as opposed to like forcing him to move. And then in other scenarios where like I'm with a lighter guy, I'm definitely it's just gonna be easier to move him as opposed to myself.
Yes. And ideally you just want to be able to have enough strength to where in emergency situations you can pop the fuck out, which you do all the fucking time. And to basically, like, when you are matched for skill with someone, strength can make the difference.
Absolutely.
If they're higher skill than you, strength can at least work as a defensive buffer to get you enough time to kind of be like, oh, what the fuck am I going to do now? And if they're lower skilled, strength just means you can fucking steamroll them, and they're like, this sucks, I'm never rolling with you in practice again. But basically, compound movements like that, getting your arms stronger is actually important for jiu-jitsu, and it fucking looks sweet.
I've been back and by since day one. He's more of a deadlift squat guy.
Been getting obsessed with the compound lifting lately.
Man.
Yeah, I'm loving it.
The Jew shit.
Jew shit, we know.
Jew-lepathy is working. I will say this, much as it pains me to say this, having really, really big, really strong legs, unless you play a very specific kind of usually gi-based game, is probably not the best use of your lifting time for jiu-jitsu. Because the amount of time that you're, like, let's say like heavy squats, the amount of time that you go from here to here in jiu-jitsu, and it's a worthwhile movement that is really a limiting factor, is quite small. But if you have really strong back, really strong arms, really strong grip, and really strong shoulders, that makes a humongous difference in how you can assert your game and how you can be defensive. So basically, sets of 5 to 10 compound movements, training roughly those muscle groups 3 days a week, and control your nutrition so that your weight is on track. And basically what's going to happen over time is you'll look leaner and more jacked at the same time, and we'll finally be able to get laid. Oh, jiu-jitsu. And then you'll be good at that too.
So you rather that style of lifting for grappling over like a hypertrophic style?
If you want to change a weight class and you want to get a lot bigger,
Yeah.
you can do muscle growth style training, which is still a lot of the same movements, but now your rep range gets expanded more to like 5 to 20 or even higher, 5 to 30 reps. But you can put on all the weight that you need, often doing sets of 5 to 10. The really good thing about sets of 5 to 10 is that the transfer of training is better, because what you're training in the gym is to be big and fucking strong as shit. And strong means strong not for sets of 20. It means strong for one big movement, because a lot of the times in jiu-jitsu, what makes a difference is success with one movement at a time. Like, if you arm drag someone and you're not weak enough to pull it off, okay, reconfigure, do whatever. But if you 1 rep max arm drag someone and get their back, you don't need to do that 15 times in a row.
Yeah.
And jiu-jitsu in real life, like, once you get adept at rolling and you're not just like super juiced out of your mind and don't ever do tons of rolling, you don't tend to like cramp or get crazy pumps everywhere. It happens, but it's really more of you showing off. Like, it's like American football. American football game lasts for like whatever, 90 minutes or some shit. But every actual play lasts for like just a few seconds. So if the guys have that ability to be strong and fast and powerful for just a few seconds, that's what makes it different. They get a rest after. So once you secure your position in your next position, then you're on to your next thing. It's not exactly the same as like 15 continuous reps. Now, just getting the muscle size is the most important thing. If you're capped to a weight class, I didn't mean to point at you, but I did, then you can only put on so much size. The rest of it needs to be strength training. So for that muscle size that you have, it can be as strong as humanly possible. So hypertrophy training is totally dope. If you want to get into that, like, ultra heavy division or whatever. You have, let's say you're like a 225 pound class or whatever, but you weigh like 208, like, rock on. You want as big a fucking arms and back as pretty much like sort of as you can, but also you have to do it slowly because it has to be integrated into your rolling style the entire time. If you take a ton of time off of jiu-jitsu and you come back super jacked, you're going to gas the fuck out and cramp up and all this dumb shit. But if you're still actively rolling, a good way to do it is take a 3 or 4 month period and ease up on the intensity on live rolling. Just don't go like, you guys know the rolls where you're like fighting for your life, 95% type of bullshit. That really fucks you up. Go 50, 70%, that type of shit for a few months. It's lame because you don't get to fucking do that shit, right? Because it feels fucking good to go all out. But it's not lame because we all know, like, drillers make killers or whatever, and, like, the best wrestlers in the world, they just drill all the fucking time, and you're like, that's why that guy from Russia's so goddamn good.
Yeah.
So if you can do more drilling and more weight training for a few months, you come back with a new and improved physique, way fucking stronger, and you slowly start to ramp up the super hard live training again, and your body is able to relearn how to use itself. That's probably the best way to sequence that I can think of.
Do you do any specific in the gym training? Do you think that has like a correlation back to jiu-jitsu, or do you mainly just like go in and like lift?
Yeah, so I've been working with Jason Khalipa for about a year now.
Oh, nice.
I connected with him, and I'm so blessed to have the opportunity to work out with him. You know, he's a great dude.
He's amazing. Yeah.
And man, he literally has me come to his house and we work out in his garage. So it's like I couldn't ask for a better, strength and conditioning protocol.
Yeah, those workouts are tough.
Yeah, so I work with him 1 to 2 times a week, and then he'll usually like write me something to do on my own for the other session. And yeah, I've noticed that it helps a lot. Definitely, the biggest thing really is injury prevention. Injury prevention. Yeah, I haven't had really any serious injuries, and if I do, like let's say like I tweak my knee, I'm out for 2 to 4 weeks instead of 2 to 4 months.
Yeah,
I'm not like, if I tear something, it's not fully tearing because I have the muscle to support it now.
That's one thing I noticed too, real quick when it comes to like lift, because I remember earlier on there would be times where I would not lift as much, and in those times where I wouldn't be lifting as much, I just have little things that would start happening, like my shoulder would start feeling a little bit weaker, my fucking knee would start going kind of odd, right? And then I'd start lifting again, and my body would feel resilient again. So I think like if you don't have to lift like a bodybuilder or anything, but if you can get some lifting in as a jiu-jitsu athlete, your body will just be more resilient to the pressures of the sport.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are you doing Olympic lifts and things like that, or not too much of that?
Yeah,
I know he likes that stuff.
We do like risk versus reward, right? So like if I was to go work out with him tomorrow, we would be doing a lot less of like something new to me. But when we're in the off season, yeah, he teaches me a lot of the new lifts. We've done a lot of hang cleans, power cleans, clean and jerks. We haven't really done any like overhead squats, but we do like squat, deadlift, bench, some cleans. That's like the foundation of what we do.
It's amazing that you got access to him. He's like one of the best coaches I've ever been around. He's incredible.
No, amazing. And I'm just lucky, and it's just one of the perks of the hard work that I've put in the last 10 years to get myself to this position where now I'm a high level black belt. You meet a guy like Jason, Jason's a high level CrossFit athlete, and he has a passion for jiu-jitsu. So that's what connected us. And anytime he comes into the gym and trains with us as well, and I try to help him back as much as I can, you know, and yeah, it's just one of the perks that I've gotten from jiu-jitsu, meeting other people that also love jiu-jitsu. And then because I'm in jiu-jitsu and he loves jiu-jitsu, he wants to go and like help me with my career and help me with my strength and conditioning program. So it's amazing. Yeah, I'm super thankful.
Do you lift before or after usually? Before a jiu-jitsu training session or after?
If I could have my choice, I would do my lift at night. So I would go and train, and then I would have like a break, like at least like, you know, 4 hours, and then I would go and do my strength and conditioning. But with that being said, the only time I can usually get with Jason is in the morning. So I've had to kind of suck it up and switch it and do my lift first and then the jiu-jitsu training.
So no steak and eggs before you lift?
No, I do.
Oh, there you go.
I do steak and eggs, and then I literally eat as soon as I'm done eating.
I like this lifestyle.
As soon as
sounds good.
I ate steak and eggs on the way here. I have the plate still in the car.
Wow, that's awesome.
I did.
What, do you got a Tesla, or are you just trying to drive in?
I do have a Tesla. Yeah.
Oh,
you do? Yeah.
Oh, sick. 'Cause I do that all the time too.
Yeah, so I was just eating and yeah.
That's funny. How much
Eating in the car.
How much do you give to the lifting sessions? What I mean is, because like right now I'm still trying to find the balance of like, okay, lifting and rolling. So when I'm lifting, sometimes I'll kind of be a little bitch because I don't want to give too much to this workout because I plan on having a good roll the following morning. So for yourself, how have you been able to like kind of, I guess, auto-regulate how much energy you're giving to lifting versus jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, it would just depend on what phase I'm in. Right now, I'm real close to competition, so I'm not going to be putting all my energy into lifting heavy weights. You know, strength. It takes a long time to build strength, but then it stays with you also the longest, right? So it wouldn't really. I'm not going to get any stronger in 2 weeks, but I could definitely, you know, increase my cardio a little bit in the next 2 weeks. So yeah, it depends. Right after I compete, I'll get more into a lifting phase and I'll start working on my strength again. And then as I get closer to competition, I'll slowly start cutting down on the weights and start incorporating more like sprint work, more like explosive work, and definitely focusing a lot more on the jiu-jitsu as well.
To build my physique,
like
I lifted
reps.
like a bodybuilder, hypertrophy for like 7 or 8 years, and yeah, that was my goal, just to look great.
good,
which
yeah.
I also got strong doing it as well.
That's my style. I like the hypertrophy training. I think it gives you a sick pump, and you don't need a lot. So I love lifting. I love bodybuilding. You know, bodybuilder style workouts. I started lifting like a bodybuilder. I think just putting on size kind of made me, if anything, more explosive. And
yeah, I chase that hypertrophy for sure.
Yeah, that's kind of all you do in the gym, right?
That's all I do.
For an athlete in jiu-jitsu, let's stick to grappling. Do you think strength is helpful or detrimental?
I've always believed that two things will create whatever effectiveness you have in grappling. Those are your skill set and your attributes. And the best athletes are those who excel in both. Don't kid yourself. If someone gets twice as strong by some kind of magic potion, they're going to be a more effective grappler. If someone gets twice the level of endurance that they had previously, they will be a more effective grappler. These physical attributes have a very important outcome on the a very important effect upon the outcome of matches. It's always a good thing to be stronger. It's always a good thing to have better endurance. It's always a good thing to have better balance, or whatever other attribute you throw out there. Gordon's point was, okay, everyone agrees on that, but there's a problem. In order to build these things, you have to carve into other elements of your training regimen. And then it becomes, well, which becomes more important? Increases in strength or increases in skill? There comes a point where investing in strength training starts to get diminishing returns. I can't tell the difference between someone who bench presses 300 pounds on the mat versus someone who bench presses 400 pounds. But that's a big difference. That's a 100-pound difference. And for an athlete to go from bench pressing 300 pounds to 400 pounds, that would require a great deal of training effort and focus. But if I can't tell the difference when I grapple them, then why bother? Okay, once you get to a certain strength level, it doesn't really help that much to go from a 400-pound bench press to a 450-pound bench press. At that stage, you're really getting a diminishing in returns on your training investment. Now, skills, on the other hand, experience far, far less in terms of diminishing returns. Every new skill you develop can translate very, very well into big increases in performance. Look at the example of Gary Tonin that we talked about earlier. Investments in guillotine made a significant improvement in his effectiveness in matches and led directly to some of his most important victories. But if he had invested the same amount of training time in developing a bench press that was 25 pounds more than previously, that would have had no outcome, influence on the outcome of those matches. So the question always becomes, yep, everyone acknowledges that these physical attributes are important, and everyone understands that becoming stronger or fitter is a desirable thing, and every athlete should work on them. The interesting question becomes, okay, at what point do you start to say, I'm not going to be helped by further increases in strength training or endurance training? And my point with my athletes is, in the overwhelming majority of cases, if there's any kind of doubt, invest more heavily in skill training than attribute training, especially once you get to a certain level on the attributes.
Well, the interesting thing that I think you should account for with strength training is there's Instagram. There's the world. It seems to be more fun to build muscle mass. It's like an addiction that people have.
Yeah. There's also economic elements too. Like most people, I hate to say this, but it's true. Most people are more concerned with image than function, and it's hard to sell a fighter or a jiu-jitsu athlete who doesn't look like one.
Looks like Fedor.
Yeah, it's a tough sell. Now, you can do it in fighting and jiu-jitsu because ultimately it's about whose hand is raised at the end of the match. And you could even use it as a selling point. You can be a guy that doesn't look like he should be winning, but he is winning. That is a selling point. But if you give most people a choice between looking like Arnold Schwarzenegger and winning matches versus looking like Fedor and winning matches, most people will select, I wish I'd rather look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. And so most athletes feel almost like an economic compulsion to be in good shape and in order to advance their marketability.
Yeah, Nike's not going to sponsor Fedor or Tank Abbott.
Yeah, Tank Abbott, no. Fedor maybe.